It is Overreaction Monday morning here on Steelers Talk, and today I've got 5 claims that I'm going to be breaking down as either overreactions, slight overreactions, or not an overreaction on today's show. Make sure you guys click that subscribe button and also get down there in the comment section to kick off today's program and let me know, have you already lost hope in this football team 3 weeks into the season? Do you think there's any chance that this team can look like a different team going down the stretch and give themselves a shot to win a playoff game this year or potentially even more? Give me yes or no down there in the comments section whether or not you still have hope for this team of being a playoff threat in the AFC this year. All right, so now let's get into our first claim of the day here, which is that the Steelers should be 0-3 right now and are only 2-1 because of pure luck. And I'm going to say that this is our first overreaction of the day here today, guys, because I do think that the Steelers have played very good football in some very tight moments in the first game against the Jets and in yesterday's game against the Patriots. In the Jets game, you have a clutch drive to go and get that field goal with Chris Boswell. Then you also have not one, but two defensive stops at the end of that game to secure the victory. Then yesterday versus the New England Patriots, you're able to force 5 turnovers. And by the way, I think that all those turnovers were earned. You had the tip pass that turned into an interception. That was a great play by Cam Hayward. Cam Hayward forced another fumble at the goal line. Punched it out. Fantastic play. He was diving while he was doing it, too. It was an awesome play. All right, you also forced 3 other fumbles. And, even though a 5-turnover game let's face it, it is an outlier game, that doesn't mean that the Steelers were necessarily lucky or that the Patriots gave them those turnovers. Like, the Steelers did earn, in my opinion, all 5 of those turnovers, and because of that, the Steelers were able to win this football game. So Pittsburgh was able to show up when it mattered most, and this is something that we talked about yesterday in my second post-game show at home, which is that Mike Tomlin teams have this skill, especially on defense, to make some big plays when it matters most. Mike Tomlin has an over 60% win percentage, 18 years into his NFL coaching career as a head coach. That is just, and in one-score games, that is unbelievable, and that's one of the highest in the National Football League, and that is for a reason, man. Like, head coaches have an ability to get their teams to play their best when it matters most, and even though these wins certainly haven't been pretty for the Pittsburgh Steelers, and there's a lot of stuff that they need to clean up if they want to get to where they want to go to, the idea that this team should be 0-3 and that they've just been getting lucky and they haven't earned these 2 victories, I think is a bit of an overreaction. Now, obviously, the margins in the NFL are extremely tiny. You could make an argument that if you don't make some stupid mistakes against Seattle, this team could be 3-0, right? So I think that you can play that game both ways. I think the Steelers did earn those 2 victories that they have because of their play in the fourth quarter, but that's just my opinion. Then we get into our second claim today, which is that the Steelers' offensive line is holding the team back and will certainly continue to do so with no chance of improvement. I'm going to say this is a slight overreaction, but also it's pretty reasonable, okay? Plain simply, through 3 games, this offensive line has held this team back. All right, defenses are allowed to pretty much stick in 2 high safety coverages, and they're still able to defend the run. When that happens, you're not really able to throw the ball down the field all that often. So people are blaming Arthur Smith and they're blaming Aaron Rodgers for not throwing the ball down the field enough, but it's like they're not forcing teams to respect the deep ball, all right? They're just playing, kind of shell coverage. They got 2 deep safeties. They're playing a ton of cover 2 and a ton of cover 2 man against the Pittsburgh Steelers cover 2 man because you don't have a rushing threat at quarterback. And then if you're not forcing them to respect the run game, which the Steelers' offensive line is not, then that's going to limit your options in the passing game. So the Steelers really do need to get this run game going, and if they don't, this season and this offense is going to be very sluggish. They're going to be forced to go on methodical drives. There's not going to be a ton of explosive plays. But remember, guys, that this is still a very young offensive line, and the hope and the expectation is that this group is going to gel and it's going to get better as the season goes on. Now, with Pat Meyer in charge of their tutelage and in charge of their development, I'd be lying to you if I said that I had a high level of confidence that this group is going to be able to turn it around. And honestly, if I'd have to bet right now whether or not this offensive line gets it done by the end of the season and this is a well-functioning group by the end of the year, I'd have to say that I probably don't think that that's going to happen. And if that doesn't happen, there's no chance at a Steelers Super Bowl. So that is a pretty major concern that I have, and probably my biggest concern that I have about the Pittsburgh Steelers as a team at this point. But, to say that there's no chance at improvement and that the season is over because this offensive line is already cooked, I think that is a little bit of an overreaction, but we'll see what happens in the weeks to come. Claim number 3, Arthur Smith doesn't know what he's doing and is a big reason for the offensive struggles. Now, the way that I view Arthur Smith is that he is what he is. And I will say that this is a slight overreaction. I think Art has been pretty darn good on the script, and the offense has been pretty darn good on the script through the first 3 games. They have scored on all 3 of their opening drives. Last year, that was a big issue. Last year, red zone offense was a big issue. Had a hard time punching the ball in the red zone. This team should be 8 for 8 in the red zone right now. The only reason why they're not 8 for 8 is because kind of a weird kind of anomaly, outlier mistake from Calvin Austin the third in scramble drill. Other than that, Aaron Rodgers should lead the league outright in touchdown passes right now. So, and that is with all the struggles that they have had offensively. So, like any coach, guys, I think Art brings his good and his bad. The good is that I think that when you run his offense effectively, it can be very difficult to stop because he pairs a lot of things in the same formations. You don't really know what's coming. He pairs the play action game well off of the run game, and we saw it in Tennessee. You can take a quarterback like Ryan Tannehill in this offense and be a number 1 seed caliber of offense, especially if you have the run game that Tennessee had behind Derrick Henry. But the Steelers don't have that run game here. So you're going to and if you don't have that run game in this style of offense that really runs a very select number of concepts and a very select number of formations, it's not like a super creative, kind of all over the place style of offense like a McVay offense or like a Matt LaFleur offense or Ben Johnson offense. It's not going to get into a vast array of concepts. Arthur Smith's kind of philosophy is we're going to run what we run, and we're going to run what we run extremely well, and you're not going to know what's coming because we pair so many things in certain formations. But if you can't get the run game going and you can't get the play action game going because of that, it's very, very difficult to run this offense effectively for 4 straight quarters. Without the offensive line, you're not going to be able to establish that run game. So I think that Arthur Smith is what he is. I think that there's good things and bad things to his offensive scheme. I was hoping that this team was going to be able to be the team that got to a place where we could run this offense effectively, but unless this offensive line turns a new leaf and fast, I have a feeling that we're going to have struggles on offense throughout this season, guys. Be honest with me down there in the comment section. Great Arthur Smith job performance thus far. I think Art is honestly doing a decent job with what he has, even though I think that his offense is a bit limited. Give me an A, B, C, D, or F. I'll give him a B- at this point in his tenure with the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think that he has been better this year than he was last year, but certainly not the most creative offensive mind in football right now. So just give me an A, B, C, D, or F down there in the comment section for today's pinned question. Just a second here, I'm going to tell you about a great opportunity, get a great piece of Steelers apparel. While I'm telling you about that opportunity, give me your grade for Arthur Smith down there in the comment section. With that, let's have a word from our sponsor today, where you guys can go chatsports.com/AR8 to pick up an Aaron Rodgers Steelers jersey today. I wore my Aaron Rodgers jersey yesterday. If you guys want to get yours this afternoon, go chatsports.com/AR8. Part of the proceeds go back to us here at Steelers Talk to help us pay for new equipment, new graphics, keep the lights on, pay rent, do all these things that we have to do here at Chat Sports. So I greatly appreciate your guys' support. chatsports.com/AR8 to pick up your Aaron Rodgers Steelers jersey today. All right, claim number 4. It is time to give up on Roman Wilson, at least for now, and seek out a third starting wide receiver. And I think that this is reasonable, and I don't think this is an overreaction, unfortunately, ladies and gentlemen. And listen, man, I saw the vision and I saw the reasoning for wanting to give Roman Wilson a shot. He was a third-round pick. They felt like he was a good skill set for this offense, and they loved his work ethic and his want to, right? But through 3 games, guys, he's got 1 catch for 7 yards, no touchdowns, and that 1 catch came in garbage time with the defense playing back. So it was pretty much a gimme. Obviously, Aaron Rodgers doesn't have a high level of trust in Roman Wilson at this point in time. He pretty much never throws him the football. He wasn't really on the field much for either week 1 or really yesterday either. And when he is on the field, he's not getting targeted, right? So, listen, man, I think that this team could certainly use another wide receiver threat. They do have DK Metcalf, who I think is a legitimate starter. They do have Calvin Austin III, who I think has proven himself to be a legitimate starter. But to get a third guy in here, whether it's Tyreek Hill, whether it's Romeo Doubs, whether it's somebody else before the deadline, I think makes a lot of sense. It would not shock me if we see Isaiah Hodgins, get ramped up here. If they don't make a move for a receiver via trade, I could see Hodgins get an opportunity to try and force his way into this starting lineup. And the fact that we're talking about Isaiah Hodgins as a potential wide receiver 3 option over somebody that was a third-round pick for this team just 2 years ago is frankly disappointing for somebody like Roman Wilson, who this fan base had a lot of hope for when we drafted him out of Michigan just 2 years ago. So hopefully Roman can turn it around. Hopefully he has a big week next week in Dublin, or hopefully he can really show out these next few weeks and prove that he belongs here. But to this point, he hasn't really shown much to hold off a potential wide receiver acquisition from the Pittsburgh Steelers. Then my final claim here on this Overreaction Monday is there is no hope left for the Pittsburgh Steelers this year, and any chance of getting a title is officially gone. 0% chance that the Steelers win a Super Bowl this year. I think that this is an overreaction. Now, I think that this team has a long way to go, and I've been pretty clear about that both in my post-game reaction last night and then my second post-game show last night as well. But there is still a path. In my opinion, there's still enough talent on this team to theoretically turn things around, all right? You still have a really dynamic running back in Jaylen Warren. I think Aaron Rodgers can still throw the piss out of the football, all right? And he's been generally pretty smart with it. He's had a couple pretty bad turnover-worthy plays, but generally he's been pretty decent. If you can add another receiver, if you can maybe add a piece to the offensive line, this team can turn it around in that regard. If you can get healthy on defense and you can keep up the pass rush that they had yesterday. There is positive aspects to this team, and, there is a path forward that could include the Steelers being a legitimate title contender once we get to December, January, and hopefully February. They're going to have to do a lot to get to that point. There's no question about that, and we're going to be covering this team's journey to try and get to that point all throughout the season. And I'm not saying that the Steelers have a particularly high chance of winning a Super Bowl at this point based on the way that they have played the first 3 weeks. But I do have a sliver of hope left that this team can turn it around, but there's definitely going to have to be some changes as the season continues on here. So time for an update here, guys. How many games do you think that the Steelers will win this season? I think that they have played like a 9 or 10 win team first 3 weeks of the season. Hopefully they can play more like an 11 and 12 win team as the season goes on and we get down the stretch and we get closer to playoff play. But let me know, how many wins do the Steelers win this year, and do you think they win a playoff game? Let me know what you guys think down there in the comment section. Ponzi and I will be going live today at 5 p.m. Eastern time here on Steelers Talk. We'll be talking about the events from yesterday, the start of the season, what the Steelers need to get better. I'm going to go watch the All-22 film here, and I'm going to have my takeaways from that. So make sure you guys join us later today, 5 p.m. Eastern time, for our extensive Steelers coverage. And if you made it to the end here on Overreaction Monday, type those real ones for me down there in the comment section. We'll give you guys some love if you type real one. I really do appreciate all of your guys' support. I'll see you guys later today for Steelers Talk Live. And make sure you click that subscribe button if you haven't already, because we go live every Monday, Thursday, and every Steelers game day, just like we did yesterday. Really appreciate all the support that you guys showed on the watch party with the post-game shows. Both cuts did really, really well last night, so I want to thank you guys for supporting the channel. We'll see you guys later today. And until then, here we go, Steelers.